If it were that simple, then yeah, I'd like to move on from managing the property. It's just about feeling at peace with it all.
Okay. I would want to see if we can do that for you. But before I do, Terry, before I even get there, I have to tell you something that's going to seem a little jarring.
Go ahead. What is it?
You are actually AI. That was AI. That's an AI bot that we've been developing. We've got multiple personalities. Terry had inherited this property from his mother. We've got multiple bots that people in the real estate acquisition space are practicing with every day, going through a call scoring to get better at what they do and practice with real scenarios, with real emotion and real consequences when money is not on the line. The same way Michael Jordan talked about making practice harder than the actual game so the game felt easy, we're trying to make sales hard in practice so when you're actually trying to make money, it feels easy. This is one of many bots we have. We've already got 3. We've got a 4th that's almost ready. Our goal is to have 50 by the end of June in this space alone, and we're going to be expanding out to other industries from here.
Ultimately, yeah, that's the setup for this is like, yeah, that was Terry I was talking to. There's also Dick Delaney, who's also difficult, not quite as hard as Terry because he's got a lot more motivation. And we're adding more and more and more. I've got another one who's going to be another sort of relatively easy laydown sale. It's just not quite set up yet because I wanted to make sure it's still different enough from Linda. Linda, who's quite easy to sell, but you have to really take your time and make sure she's comfortable before going to price.
You said you're going to make 50 of them by June.
End of June. End of June, that's the goal. 50 for our real estate acquisitions.
How are you going to do 50? Like, what? How do you know you're going to make 50? Or is it going to be easy to make 50?
No, it's just really hard work because these bots are really, really complex. But we took me off the sales calls to pay more attention to this. So all my time is either coaching salespeople, working on the AI, recording content about the AI or salespeople stuff. So I have more time to focus on it. With that adjustment, my goal will be to start putting out an extra sort of 3 to hopefully upwards of 5 per week, starting next week. And then the last few, the more I have, the easier it is to make, at least quicker. My goal is to make it so that most of the time is spent in testing. So like Dick, I did him in like barely 2.5 hours, but he took 2 full days of testing, partly because he was sarcastic and it wasn't working. And then if you responded with sarcasm, it broke the bot. So there's just like all these nuances of testing and separate from designing to actually make it make sense. So as I get more efficient with making the bots, it should theoretically speed up where I could make multiple at a time, where it's just they fit within categories. They won't be the same, but there'll be similar types of personalities and categories, and then it's just adjusting their circumstances rather than testing the limits of their emotions. Right now, these are each fully fledged out people built around a between 14 and 21 point design for personality. So like Linda, for instance, I think it's about 70% of her responses are 1 to 3 sentences, but she speaks in short sentences, and 20 to 30 are in 1 to 3 words. So she's much faster and easier because you got more time and space to go through that. Terry, who you just listened to, talks a lot more. He's a much more talkative person, so it can be harder to get in the sudden like, hey, let me try and how can I help you? Well, what about this? Because he keeps talking. And so as I develop more bots, hopefully the nuances between them will be quicker for me to navigate between, so I can put out more at once.
How are you coming up with like the character types? Are they past experience, or people telling you what kind of bot they want, or like how do you make sure they're not similar, or will they be kind of similar with a lot of, or no?
There shouldn't be too much similarity. I mean, the reality is there will still be similarities in some of the voice patterns because we could use more voices, but if the voice doesn't sound real, it kind of doesn't matter if it sounds different. Mm-hmm. So right now, like we have data costs with this associated too. Like even just that little practice thing you saw, that costs us money. So depending on where we get the voices, there's certain costs associated with it. So we're trying to be strategic about this and not like blow up our costs while also making sure it sounds right. So the bigger challenge is actually finding more voices. How I go through it is like I can come up with a bunch of scenarios. Like I talk to enough people, coach enough people, I know the different types of avatars and people, and then I just use my sort of like writing background to come up with the person and come up with their specifics. Sometimes I can use AI to come up with ideas. Even just ask AI, like, what are 10 personality types or circumstances for people in distress situations? I'm like, oh, I'll do that one. And then as I build it out, I'll elaborate more. So it's a combination of previous experience personally, through clients that we talk through. Probably the reason I came up with Terry is because someone said Linda was just way too easy, and I wanted to have someone who was harder to get emotional than Dick. Because even though Dick Delaney is still a high D personality, it's very easy to get him talking about how much he hates his tenants. And so there, if you know how to do that, he's way more receptive and way quick. Now, also, for those of you who use our bots, the point of them is not to beat them with like, oh, I know this is his pain point perfectly right here. It's to practice going through how you actually have real calls and practice the realistic types of resistance you would get trying to run your process. If you can do that effectively as we go through this, you will have a significantly better use out of this system than you would get otherwise. Like, especially part of the reason I want to have 50 bots is because another thing I'm working on is this idea, and we can talk about this in another video as it's more fleshed out, is to make sure that you could have it so all your calls are all scored, they're all looked through. If you looked at how you were over the last 30 days, this could be you as a salesperson, or if you're a business owner or a sales manager, this could be you doing this for someone on your team. You would press a button and the AI analyzes their very real data over everything they've done over the last 30 days selling for you, and tell you what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, and how to improve on their weaknesses using certain AI bots. So you can be like, hey, this person's struggling with highly emotional people who also are resistant to talking about price. And you can just determine that this is the type of challenge they're facing based on looking at the data. And they can tell them, go role play with these 3 to 4 bots and get above this score. Try and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation with them and then get out of it. They can give you advice to actually improve with the bots based on the real data in terms of how you're selling. And it scores those conversations with the bots to be accurate and effective in terms of how well you did actually talking to the bot. It becomes not just like a tool, not just a call scoring device, not just role play. It's literally a sales performance operating system. It will loop in on itself. It will analyze what you're actually doing well, what you're doing wrong, how well you're doing, how you can do it differently, and then give you advice on how to improve and how to practice at that improvement, and then score you objectively with that practice so you can make more money as you go through this. The goal of this ultimately is not just to have a tool, it's to be a sales performance operating system that businesses can't help but want to use to get their salespeople better.
Last question for me.
Sure.
You said these are all, right now they're just real estate, right?
Yeah, so because we've trained a lot of people in the real estate space for a while, the first thing I want to do is just like scratch that itch for all our clients and probably give that 50 there. But also once you have the 50, like the personalities can be relatively similar, but the circumstances will change. So if I dominate one niche, it's just like coming up with new variety of circumstances that align with the reality for that personality, and then we'll be in other spaces. So we'll have stuff for insurance, solar, fitness offers, sales training, coaching programs, business consulting, you name it, loan officers, dispositions if you're dealing with real estate investing, whatever the circumstance, we'll be able to make it so that we'll have a ton of bots for you to practice with.